the dark abyss of the Pandora's box opened up, staring into the past and now the future. And I knew that these decisions would have enormous consequences. You could not unleash a military intelligence agency that was signed by the stroke of a pen in the deeps of secrecy in 1952, not created by any congressional legislation, headed by a military general, reporting directly in terms of the chain of command to the president as commander-in-chief, and take all that power and turn it on its own country without something given. And I knew that if I remained silent in those first few weeks after 9/11, when I discovered all this, that I would be complicit in a crime, and I could not remain silent when my own government was now a criminal enterprise subverting the Constitution of the United States. And so I made a choice within the system over a number of years. Some have questioned me, and having continued to remain within the system all those years, to fight them with everything I knew that was available to me in terms of bringing this to light. And it turned out that was a long and arduous story, which we'll probably get into a little bit. But here I was facing the reality, the stark reality, that our own government had, the wheels had come off our own government. And not only were we, had the wheels come off, we were in an entirely different vehicle, an anathema form of government. And as I've told Ellsberg and others, what I was confronted by was the United States was operating under emergency decree, the equivalent of martial law. I'm going to use really strong language during this hour here, I really am, because I'm afraid that most people still don't get it. I really am. And it's not just the government, but it's also a huge sector of American corporate environment and the corporate economy. We're going to talk about that because there's our very sovereignty is not just as a nation, but as individuals is at stake. And I don't want society becoming like Winston in 1984, where the only place that Winston had any kind of security, to say it that way, was in the corner, outside the constant gaze of the video cameras, which meant they knew where he was. And I've lived this. I've lived this in a way, and I was able to come through it, and I'm sitting in front of you, all the hundreds of you out there, as a free human being. I can't begin to tell you what it means to be free, where the government spent many, many years doing everything it could to take away the very heart of what it means to be a sovereign human being, and put me in prison for as long as they could. What it means to actually be free. You really begin to focus on what matters in life. And so I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for people that try to apologize for this. I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for people who try to give the government the benefit of the doubt. It's important to note that after 9/11, we were essentially put under emergency law by the executive, and there was no constitution.
So you documented in your case the surveillance state up to that point. If we had really paid attention to what you were saying, we might not be where we are now. The surveillance state's already here.
Well, see, the kicker is, I went to everybody, that Justin Reddick said earlier, I went to every channel that existed, including serving as a material witness over a period of months during 2002, including joint inquiry, giving prima facie evidence of the surveillance programs, particularly Stellar Wind, the failure of 9/11, as well as a cover-up and the massive fraud, waste, and abuse, billions and billions being spent in the name of security. And it's important to note that my moment of truth was actually the first week in October of 2001. Now, this is barely 3 weeks after 9/11. I confronted the lead attorney at NSA. He actually showed up in the recent Frontline documentary called The United States of Secrets. And he said, "You don't understand, Mr. Attorney." This is after he acknowledged that the White House had approved what they called the program, the President's Surveillance Program. It was always called the program. He said, "You don't understand, we just need the data. We just need the data." And see, when he said that, I was thrown back to a period in my other life, my other day job, when I was a cryptolinguist flying on RC-135s during the Cold War in the European theater. And what country did I become an expert in? What country did I spend many, many years listening in on their communications? East Germany. It was just a very surreal moment, because now I'm realizing that on a far vaster scale, that my own government is now deciding that in the interest of national security, we're just going to collect it all. We need